All right, let's talk about something you've probably been feeling in your gut lately if you're in IT. That budget for new hardware, it just isn't stretching as far as it used to, right? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly why that's happening. And trust me, it's a much bigger story than you'd think, one that's changing the whole game. So let's get into it. So, have you had that moment recently? You open up a quote for, say, a new server or a batch of laptops, and you just kind of stare at it thinking, whoa, wait a second, this seems high. You are definitely not alone. It's the big question on pretty much every IT leader's mind right now. And the answer? Well, it's not what you're probably thinking. It's not tariffs, it's not your typical inflation. Nope, it's something way bigger. Okay, so what is it? It really all boils down to one single massive global shift, the AI gold rush. That's the perfect way to think about it. But instead of prospectors digging for gold, you've got the world's biggest tech companies building this enormous new digital world. And as you can imagine, that has some huge ripple effects for all of us. And when we talk about this boom, the scale is it's mind-boggling. We are talking about hundreds of billions, with a B, of dollars being poured into building the brains behind AI. Now, these AI systems, they are incredibly hungry. They devour massive amounts of very specific components, powerful GPUs, and tons of DRAM and NAND memory. And because of this huge demand, the entire global supply chain is basically getting rerouted. Manufacturing capacity is being pulled away from the everyday hardware your business needs and pointed straight at this new AI frontier. So you might be thinking, okay, big AI data centers. What's that got to do with my business? Well, here's the kicker. That super specialized memory and storage that's fueling a giant AI system, it's made from the exact same stuff as the memory and storage in the servers, the PCs, the laptops that you use every single day. So all of a sudden, your organization is competing head-to-head with the biggest tech giants on the planet for the very same, very limited pile of components. And while this affects a lot of different parts, the real squeeze, the biggest bottleneck, is memory and storage. We're talking DRAM and NAND flash. I mean, think about it. These things are in practically every piece of tech we use, right? From a basic Chromebook all the way up to a beefy firewall. And right now, their cost is the main engine pushing all these other prices up. Okay, and this is where you can literally see the impact. Just look at these charts. For years, component costs were pretty steady. Sometimes they even went down. But then, bam, look what happens in late 2025 and into 2026. That is not a gentle slope. That's what we call a hockey stick curve, just a sudden, violent spike upwards. This right here is the picture of that AI demand shock slamming into the supply chain. This is the raw data that manufacturers are staring at, and it flows directly down to the prices you're seeing on your quotes. And to put an even finer point on it, let's just zero in on one single common part. A standard 64-gig stick of server memory. Its cost jumped, get this, 174% in just 2 quarters. I mean, when a basic building block like that nearly triples in price, there is just no way that doesn't blow up the cost of the final product. So the main takeaway here? This isn't some small price tweak. It's a massive, fundamental shift in the market. You know, for decades, we all kind of lived by one simple rule in tech, right? It's basically Moore's Law. Stuff gets faster and cheaper over time. You wait a few months to buy a new piece of hardware, and you usually get a better deal, more bang for your buck. Well, that rule is broken. It just doesn't apply anymore. In this new world, the demand for components is so far beyond the supply that waiting can actually mean you end up paying more for the exact same piece of gear. It's a total flip of the script. And I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this is probably just for those big, high-end servers. But nope. Because these components are in everything, this price wave is washing over every single category. Your everyday office PCs? Yep. The laptops and Chromebooks you rely on? Them too. Your core networking gear? Absolutely. Even your firewalls and security appliances. They all need that same memory, those same chips. Nothing is untouched by this. And honestly, as painful as the price hikes are, that might not even be the biggest risk we're facing. Think of price increases as a warning flare. They're often the first sign of an even bigger problem, just getting the stuff at all. Availability. When the manufacturers can't get their hands on enough components, they're forced to make some really tough calls. They start prioritizing certain product lines, they limit what you can configure, and suddenly lead times go from a few weeks to a few months. So the real danger isn't just that it'll cost more later, it's that the exact machine you need might not even be available when you need it. Okay, so if the old wait-and-see playbook is officially useless, what do? What's the right move now? It really comes down to one thing: shifting from being reactive to being proactive. The companies, the organizations that are going to get through this without a major headache are the ones that are planning way further ahead than they ever have before. So what does that actually look like? Well, a few things. First, if your normal hardware refresh plan starts 6 months out, you need to push that out. Start thinking 12, maybe even 18 months ahead. Second, if you have a project on the roadmap that you know is coming, get a quote now. Lock in today's pricing, lock in that availability. Third, take a hard look at your infrastructure and figure out what's absolutely mission critical, the stuff with long lead times, and put those at the top of the list. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, do whatever you can to avoid that last minute, oh no, it broke, emergency purchase, because that's when you'll have the fewest options and pay the highest price. And I want to be really clear about this. At Complete Computing, we're not trying to create a false sense of urgency or push anyone to buy something they don't need. That's not how we operate. But here's the honest truth. If you already know you've got a hardware need coming up in the next 12 to 18 months, every single trend in the industry is screaming that it's just plain smarter to start planning for it earlier rather than later. It's about being strategic, not reactive. So look, the bottom line is this: the IT world has changed. The old rules about pricing and availability, they're gone. The single most important takeaway from all of this is that planning ahead has gone from a nice to have to being absolutely critical. So the question we want to leave you with is a simple one. Is your IT plan built for the world of yesterday, or is it ready for the new reality we're all living in today? Thanks for your time.